snowflakes by the up. I guess even back then you can call me CEO of the ROC. Ho, fresh out the frying pan into the fire. I be the music biz #1 supplier. Fly it in a piece of paper bearing my name. Got the hottest chick in the game wearing my chain. That's right, ho. Not DOC, but similar to them letters. No one could do it better. I check cheddar like a food inspector. My homie Strick told me, dude, finish your breakfast. So that's what I'ma do. Take you back to the dude with the Lexus. Fast forward the jewels and the necklace. Let me tell you dudes what I do to protect us. Shoot at you actors like movie directors. This ain't a movie, dog.
Now, before I finish, let me just say, I did not come here to show out, did not come here to impress you, because to tell you the truth, when I leave here, I'm gone, and I don't care what you think about me.
Maddie Anderson, and I'm a goalkeeper on the Mississippi State women's soccer team. I am so excited to be partnering with Bell Smith to bring you these scripture bells. I've always wanted to find ways to combine my faith in sport, and now I can off the field when supporting my favorite Mississippi State athletic teams. There are 5 different cowbells, each correlating with a specific Bible verse that has had an impact on my life, and I'm hoping has had an impact on your life as well. These are available to purchase at Maroon & Co. and on their website. So come and get your very own scripture bells so that you can cheer on your favorite Mississippi State athletic teams as well as cheer on your Father in heaven. Hail.
Gone. That's a solo home run.
A few moments later.
Pitch. Ronnie hits the ball and double by Hunter Hines, drives in a run, and boy, Hunter's having himself a nice afternoon in Nashville.
A few minutes later.
Towering fly ball. It may stay in the yard. No, it's not. It's gone for Hunter Hines. He has driven in all of the Bulldog runs today.
Good angle.
There's a high drive deep in the outfield. It is fair. It is gone. And the Bulldogs have taken the lead here in the top of the 9th inning on the 3rd home run of the weekend for Hunter Hines.
If you ain't fired up, you should be. It
Bro,
is
watch this
time. I'm telling you. It's time once again for the In Off the Bench podcast. I am Daniel Ball. I'm joined as always by my co-host, my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, Jim Cross. And Jim, you saw it on the back end, the fours doing it big, hitting balls very hard and very far. It's as if the baseball, he's angry at it.
And I'll tell you,
good thing.
I'll tell you straight up right now, Duty Noble, I don't think, you know me, I have the right to say this. I've been to, at least 20 college ballparks now. I don't think bombs look better leaving right field for lefties better anywhere than Duty Noble, man, because when Hunter hits them, the parking lot's over there, and it's going straight out there, and if you park there, that's your risk.
See, Jim, hopefully you didn't learn a lesson the hard way. You don't park over there, do you?
No, I'll park at Barnes & Noble for free. You know I'm cheap.
Get your book, get your little coffee, and then head into Duty Noble to watch the man of the hour, Mr. Hunter Hines. Hunter, man, welcome to the show once again. You are a veteran to the program.
Yep, what's going on?
Oh, you know, just doing what we do, man.
We got to bring some excitement. You know, Daniel, I did not expect to see, 90 minutes before our show. When you talk about a show that, is based around baseball, Pete Rose, man, the king of hits passing. And you know how it is, Daniel. They always say in threes, right? Because the Dikembe Mutombo was yesterday. And so, man, might be a third one on deck. But I want to ask you about that, Hunter. I don't know if you have an opinion on it. You may not, but I know that you're a hitter and you probably respect everything he did, especially now that he's passed. Can we get the man in the Hall of Fame? What you think?
I mean, I think he deserves it. Anybody hit like him, I don't care what you do. He did it the fair way. I think, he's probably one of the best average hitters there is, pure hitter. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against him going in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand things like that, why they would really actually bother people. I think it's exactly what you said. Anybody who I know that loves the game of baseball respects him, and especially those that were like my dad's age, he was absolutely the man. But, speaking of guys who are doing big things, we're coming to the end of the regular season in the MLB. Aaron Judge, man, Shohei Ohtani, Bobby Witt Jr., I mean, Lindor. Like, man, you got some dudes really doing some big things. For you, who's the most impressive to you?
Probably Judge, just how consistent he is day in, day out in that level. I mean, the man hits. He's about to go. What? I know it's like 3 years in a row he's hit 50. To just do that's just stupid. He's about to hit 60 though this year for the second consecutive year. I mean,
did you happen to watch the highlight of Skeens going down Murderers Row? And if you did you happen to think about how you had to face that dude just 2 years ago?
Yeah, I did. He was. They made him. Skeens is Skeens, but him facing them is a little bit different.
But I mean, it started with the gauntlet of the SEC and playing you guys, and then he just continually built and put in the work. But it was kind of like we had Brock Wilkin and Nick Kurtz when he was doing that. When he first started doing that, they both texted me and said that's the reason why we couldn't beat them in Omaha. They're like, that ain't even fair, and it's like they ain't wrong about that, because Rhett Lauder's already in the pros and he was the next best dude. But just something about Skeens, he's different. But as far as Judge, Ohtani, Bobby Witt, there is no wrong answers. But I'm not surprised, Daniel. A power hitter took the power hitter. Of course he did. Of course he did.
He took the easy way out. I see him. I see him.
but I will say this. Bobby Witt has a great case, and I'm not one of them people who's going to go all deep into it. When you look at the lineup, Daniel, for the Dodgers and the Yankees, it's not the same in Kansas City. So you got to give Bobby Witt his credit for that. But let's talk about something giving credit, Daniel. I don't know if you're not big on the social media scene, but Hardy did a concert at Duty Noble, man. And Daniel, Mississippi State, when it comes to the mecca of college baseball, Duty Noble Field, they do things big, and even concerts. And so I got to know, were you there, Hunter?
Yeah, we were there. We had, luckily we got front row seats. The baseball team, all athletics, got front row seats to watch him perform. It's pretty sweet to be on the field and, not be the one performing, just kind of just looking back and just enjoying the night.
I didn't actually think about that when I asked you that, but that is true. But man, like, I saw the pictures, I saw the videos, and it looked like it was killer. And I don't, like, when it comes to that stadium, I don't expect anything less.
No, it's packed. Now I realize how many people actually come to the games.
No doubt. Like, I tell people all the time, because I'm an LSU fan, but like when that place is packed, it really is unrivaled. And like I was saying at the start of the show, I've been to the other places to compare, and I love it, man. And I, if I was more of a Hardy guy, I'm not the biggest country guy in general, but I would have went and checked it out. You playing some music, Daniel? What are you doing?
I'm trying to figure out who Hardy is.
Okay, so let me tell you something, Daniel. This guy, not only he's actually a really good musician, but he opened up for the big acts, but he really made his name in Starkville, man. He shouts out Mississippi State athletics, really built a following down there, and just blew up. He's actually very talented. It's just another one of those things, Daniel, where that's just not our brand of music. We unfortunately grew up in Memphis, and we're raised to rap.
I'm trying to figure out, is this country music, Hunter?
His newest album is more hard rock, honestly.
That's what when I look at him, that's what I see. But like, then it's got like
his old music when he first started. It's country, but he's kind of shifting to.
But Daniel, you know how it is in the music industry. If you can kind of hit multiple genres, you're going to market yourself. You're going to have more of a following. But yeah, the
first two songs that I saw, Truck Bed, Rednecker, and and Wait in the Truck. So yeah. I just immediately assumed it was some type of country.
Yeah, he's country.
You know what you would know him for, Daniel? Hunter will appreciate this story. He's the one who played and at least gave the people involved Hemingway when Morgan no-showed at least something awesome to enjoy and talk about. That was who was on the front end of that. So But one more thing, man, and we're going to get into baseball. I got to bring this up. Daniel, if you remember the last time we had him on, just like I did these video clips, I did the Halloween clip that Mississippi State did, the Hunter Hines costume, which I thought was awesome, which made me want to ask Hunter, what is, like, I don't care what age you are, what was your favorite Halloween costume you ever dressed up? October starts tomorrow, so got to know.
Jeez. Probably when I was real little, I used to be big and like cowboys, so I used to love the cowboy outfit, going acting like I had 6 shooters on my hips and all that stuff. Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I mean, did you go chaps? Did you go boots with spurs? Did you go the whole nine?
The whole 9 yards. Yep.
Just two little pew pews.
Yep. The whole 9 yards.
Look at you, little tyke Hunter, looking like Woody from Toy Story out there.
I mean, Daniel, you seen my son. We go to friggin' whatchamacallit, what is it called? I just lost my blank. In Fort Worth, Texas. Anyway, where all the rodeo stuff is and the bulls and the hats and everything. You seen what my son was like after 48 hours around that scene. Kids still today, whether we're talking about Hunter when he was a kid, talking about kids now or kids 40 years ago, there's an appeal to the whole cowboy thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I watch Yellowstone.
Yeah.
100%. I wish I had it in me. I just don't. Especially at 40 these days. But Hunter, man, obviously it's been a couple years since we've seen you. Obviously, it's great to have you back on, but a lot has gone on since an amazing freshman season where you hit 300 with, just no big deal, 16 home runs, 52 RBIs, 51 runs. When you think about those numbers and then you go, well, in 2023, you took a step forward with power numbers. You hit 22 home runs. You hit 61 RBIs. Obviously, the season didn't end the way that you guys are accustomed to, especially being that you're coming off of a championship run, moving into a new direction and trying to like get your feet under you. And it looked like you had offensively, but just as the team, the success kind of didn't match. Do numbers mean anything, like personal numbers and stats, if you're not winning games?
Ooh, that's a tricky question. I mean, you always want to play good. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not playing good, you're not doing the thing, to help your team win. So at that point, I was DHing. So literally the only thing I could do to help us win was hit. So I tried to look at it that way. Even though we didn't win a lot of games, our offense put up good numbers, at least gave it, competition.
Daniel, if anything, I'm upset with Mississippi State as a whole as a team, because if you remember on the show, I predicted Hunter for 25 home runs. And I think if they go to Hoover and get into the postseason, we get to 25. See, I got shafted on my over under with the 22 because the season ended earlier than it should have.
I mean, you were giving him 9 more, which is good. I mean, he hit 22, he improved. So,
but I think, hey, he was rolling, man. If they can get into Hoover, make a run, he gets to 25. I'm telling you,
no doubt. Hunter, the team from 2021, you lose a lot of guys, and then again after 2022, you lose more guys. Obviously, with the atmosphere of college baseball, there's a lot of shuffling, a lot of transfers, and a lot of things happening. And then you layer on top of that when you win a championship and then people get drafted in elite programs like Mississippi State. Guys are constantly going, through the draft. How hard is it to replace year after year, key people when you play in the SEC, because you're talking about the best of the best baseball and having to not rebuild the program, but you're having to restructure certain defensive or certain offensive aspects of the game for you guys.
Yeah, you're just you're trying to piece together a whole new team pretty much. So the biggest part of that, just is the fall. You start to get to know your guys. You start to get to get to know how they think, how they play, and what they do on the field. Just like this year compared to last year. Last year we had a tight group, we had a good run at the end, and we fell short from where we wanted to be. But I felt like as a team we played good ball, and we lose a lot of that, mostly pitching staff. So you got a bunch of new guys, a bunch of transfers.
Was it 8 guys drafted pitching wise? Was that right?
I
think it was a record for y'all.
8 or 9. 8 or 9, yeah.
So Daniel, you talked about the draft specifically. I mean, they literally lost 8, 9 guys to the draft, telling you the talent they lost in the pitching staff.
I mean, I always wondered this is, obviously coaches are there to develop players, but so are veteran players. And I would consider you, Hunter, a veteran guy now with Mississippi State. Is it hard to pour into a freshman and to like try to get them developed and kind of spend a lot of time with them and kind of take them under your wing, knowing on the back end, like they might not be here at the end of the year?
Yeah. That's something new to me. I've always kind of been a type of player to kind of go off and do my thing and work, and but so that's something I'm actually trying to work on right now. Being senior, turning down the draft, come back to school, all that stuff. So, but I think there's even with freshmen, it's like you have freshmen that come in and know, like, hey, I can do it here. They really just
were that freshman, right? I mean,
yeah. They just need, just like me. They need like, all right, give me an example of how y'all go out throughout the day, how practice runs. Like a couple weeks go by, they're good. Like you're good. You know what I mean? But I think like no matter who you are, you're not going to get like you're not going to have somebody hold your hand the whole time.
Right.
So you kind of just gotta roll with the punches and get on with it.
So for you, you went to the Cape League and you were, all-star in the Cape League over the summer. And Jim and I are thinking, hey man, like Hunter's going to move into like this incredible season. There was a little bit of decline in the numbers. Was there any particular reason? And the reason I asked is because some guys, Cameron James being one of them, was like, man, just coming off of such a long college season straight into the Cape, it's very hard to like keep the momentum going. So you go through a successful college season, then you go to the Cape, and then you're back at it in the fall with like a little bit of downtime, but not a lot. Like was the motivation, or were you drained? Like what was there any particular reason for a decline?
There's probably a bunch of different reasons. I had a really good sophomore season. I hit 22, and then I went to the Cape and broke the Cape home run record there, and had a good Cape. And come back for the fall, had banged up from the Cape. I was banged up, so I didn't play a lot of the fall. So I did have a little bit of rest, but I think for me mostly was just going from this guy that nobody knew about freshman year to, hey, this guy might run on up there in the first, second round after his Cape. And so me personally, I think I put a little bit too much pressure on myself, and kind of, didn't know how to handle failure at the time, because at the time I hadn't failed yet. In 3 seasons of collegiate baseball. So I think that was the main reason. I was probably a little bit tired too, honestly, playing 49 games in the Cape. Played all 49 games, and then turned around and come back. So I think there's a lot of different things, but mainly I think it was just unneeded pressure of the draft, honestly. And looking back now, it did hurt me, but it's just God's plan for me to come back here and finish another year. And I think my talents are good enough to go play pro ball, but I'm just going to, we'll see.
Well, just so you know, your talent is very good, and it's perfectly fine to go play
We've
pro
seen a
ball.
lot lesser go a lot farther, brother.
Trust me. I mean, you got to say it was worth it, though. I can't say this, and Jim can't say this, but neither one of us are the home run king of the Cape League. I would love to have that accolade.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we're going
Yeah.
for the Mississippi State one this year too. So
Let's go. What do you need? What do you need to get there?
I think it's 12.
Oh,
12.
easy money.
12
Might
or
have it
13
before
somewhere.
conference play.
Get it. Obviously, you guys get back to the tradition that's been set at Mississippi State of winning. You get 17 wins in SEC play, a 40-23 record. You end up getting to compete for a regional. Was there a little bit of pressure off of everyone's back to finally get back there and kind of go, all right, we're playing for something. This is the way it should be?
Honestly, for me, well, the whole team, because the whole team was we were kind of a newer team, actually. Besides, you had a few key guys here and there that played together for a couple of years, but just winning throughout the season, like just going to Texas A&M and taking one from them, but playing 2 competitive games there, and going to Florida and having a bad weekend, but taking one there, and then coming back and playing LSU and beating them 2 out of 3, like just the whole season, just playing competitive ball. When honestly, we haven't for 2 years. We were the team that, all right, we're going to get easy sweep here. You know what I'm saying? Just being able to go and week in and week out, and be a really competitive team, and really, honestly, one of the top tier SEC teams last year, in my opinion. And go into Hoover and have a good run in Hoover, and go to Virginia. But last year that's what Mississippi State was.
Me, Daniel, I thought they were a scarier team in the West than Arkansas or LSU. I thought they were second to A&M in my mind. I really, if they can get through that regional, Daniel, nobody wants to see them in their super.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the first weekend, the scariest day for Arkansas was game 1. Yeah. I mean, that's only because of the guy that's going out there is one of the best. But you talked about going to Virginia. You guys fell short. Obviously a Virginia team who is always really good. They found themselves back in Omaha, but they always seem to find a way to get there. You personally were Charlottesville all-regional team, but how good was your Mississippi State team last year? How good was that Virginia team that inevitably won that regional in comparison?
I think 2 very similar teams as far as talent-wise. I think, one team had timely hitting and one team didn't, honestly, is what it come down to. Both teams were evenly matched pitching-wise. They beat us 1 run. They walked us off the first night, and it was a 3-2 ball game going in the bottom of the 9th on the next inning or the next day. So we left some runners out there that weekend, and we know. But I think it's just honestly just 2 really competitive baseball teams going head-to-head. And in my opinion, if it's at our place, it goes the other way. If it's at their place, it goes there. It's just one of those games. It's the weekend series at home.
And I'm sure that's something Lamona's told them is, a game here, a game there. If it would have went a different way, they might have found themselves hosting. And that's why, especially in the SEC, every game matters, because they were really, Daniel, the most fringe team of hosting. And I think you have a couple games differently.
Do you remember who the super regional would have been?
It would have been Kansas State at Duty Noble.
See, and that's the tough thing, is that when you turn around and you go, man, what could have been, you might, if you win that regional, if we
win that first game against Virginia, we go to Omaha.
Right. And I'm not going to say you luck into going, because obviously you play, but the road gets significantly easier when you get to go to.
I felt like the fan base got too ahead of themselves, because that news was already out. So I think they were already excited thinking about the fact that they were going to be forgot you had to beat Virginia first.
Yeah, we kind of I guess we're all guilty of it, but we were thinking about the next weekend. Hey, we might host a super.
It's hard not to. For people who go, no, we weren't overlooking or looking ahead of anything. Like, it is impossible not to think of like the different scenarios that could be.
17,000 people coming to watch you play.
To me, that's a little bit of motivation to get you there, is to know what's on the cusp of winning and losing.
Yeah.
Sure. I thought, though, nonetheless, it was a successful year because, like you said, a lot of new pieces, and coming off not going to Hoover back-to-back years. I know a lot of Mississippi State fans that were very pleased. Obviously, you're going to have your people who are unhappy if you get anything but a championship. But I got to watch y'all quite a bit, including, like you said, when y'all beat LSU. Got to watch y'all win a game in Hoover. And so, I really thought it was a good team. But coming into this year, for you, senior year, like we've talked about over and over again, you play in the mecca of college baseball. I want to kind of focus this kind of question, kind of thinking from a mental health aspect. And you've touched on it a little bit because you're not known for the leadership role. And you also talked about the expectations that you kind of had for yourself because you were thinking of draft. So now coming into senior year, you've played 3 years in this conference. You know absolutely how hard it is. You know what your fan base is. How do you deal with those expectations, and from a mental health side, keep yourself locked in, focused, block out all the noise, from everybody who, expects a certain thing from you, and you just do what you want to do, and that's have fun and play baseball?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, last year was a hard thing for me to overcome, but also I do feel like I needed it at the same time. Going into this year, I have a little bit better outlook on the end goal and, the process. They say God's not going to show you what you have to go through at the end of the day because you're not going to go through it. I don't think I didn't expect to have the year I had last year, but, I did it, and it's over. This year I'm really just working on, getting back to playing like how I played my freshman year. Just kind of like, man, I'm happy to be here. I want to win. I'll do anything I can to help the team win. And honestly, just all outer surfaces, everything outside the diamond, I'm trying to just completely just block out.
Yeah, I mean, don't lose sight of the fact that you're playing a kid's game, man, and having fun. Like, don't let the pressure get a hold of you, because I know this year it's going to be expectations with you being that guy that's coming back more than ever. And just stay focused, and you keep referencing God, keep going to him, like, because I really think what you talked about, having failure for the first time, Daniel, we know this, it's going to make him stronger than ever. He talked about it in a mature way. Like, you didn't complain about it. You learned from it. And I think you're going to grow from this. And I think sky's the limit. So you got to block out the outside noise, and just remember at the end of the day to have fun, enjoy the whole Hunter hates baseballs thing. But, I do feel like I got to ask you this straight up. It's kind of like, it's funny. It's not like football struggling bad, and people are already talking about, is it baseball season yet? Does that add a little more, like, because Mississippi State, they want to win, they want to be good in athletics, and with football being down and people are talking about baseball, do you see that? Do you hear that and know that, like, all right, people are really looking to the baseball team now?
Yeah. So just like today, we had our little inter squad, like the 4th of the year so far, and there's probably 1,000 people there, like on a Monday afternoon. And they're just coming out there and watch the ball game. So yeah, I think last year kind of put a good taste in the mouth after, hey, we made a good run. Looking forward to seeing it. So yeah, I think people are excited about this year.
I saw the pictures from today. I sent it to Daniel that Mississippi State posted. I could be wrong, but it looked like you hit it over the fence, because it looked like you weren't in a hurry to go anywhere out the box. Was that just, did I misunderstand a picture? As you hit one out today?
No, I didn't hit one out. I hit one. I got a single, so kind of just
a single.
We're not running out the box, are we? Okay,
a single. He thought it was gone. Don't lie. He said, "You know what, Coach? I'm gonna try this one."
For second base.
But now you said you have had a few inter squads now. It's tough to know a lot about the team, but nonetheless, you're out there. You talked about the pieces that left. There's new pieces moving in, but you can still get an overall vibe of what's going on. I mean, how are you feeling after the first few days?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy this team. Really like it. Um, we got a whole new position group this year. You know, we got a bunch of transfers. Getting to know those guys, and they're all seniors. They're all old guys, so I think we can really, really hit this year. We if there was a downside to us last year as a group, it was probably with the bats. Surprisingly, coming back and our pitching was a strength, but this year I think we're really going to be able to swing the bat. And I think our pitchers are going to come up good too. They're just, Coach Parker's getting all those guys acclimated to the mentality here and how we do things, and throwing strikes and commanding the ball and just going after people. So I think we're a really tough group.
Yeah, I got to thinking about it. It wasn't on my questions, but I went down to Rocket City and watched Mershon play along with a bunch of other guys we were on the show. He went 3 for 4 both games, man. That's one of the guys you lost. Obviously, he was good for y'all, but like even as his friend and his teammate, like, are you surprised to see him like double A ball, like killing it?
No, he's just a little rat out there. Is what we used to call him, a little rat out there. I mean, he would run around and just pester people. He could really swing it. He got really good bat to ball skills. I knew there was something in there with the deal going that late for him. I knew some way somehow they had little setups. But no, I'm very proud of Mershon, and he was a great teammate and a great ball player.
Yeah, no doubt. So obviously we talked about it. You're going for the home run record. Obviously, that's not your actual goal. It's just something that if you accomplish, you will definitely be proud. But you're going out there to obviously win a national championship. You're going out there to build the draft stock. But in order to do that, it's not going to be about the power numbers. The most significant number, you batted 300 and 297 the first 2 years. What do you got to do to get yourself back to the batting average you're accustomed to? Because I think ultimately that's what's going to matter most when we talk about not only what you do for your team, but your draft stock.
I think, honestly, the hits last year I actually had more hits than my first 2 years combined, but I think just working in a walk instead of, taking a 3-2 swing and rolling over one that you probably should have taken and walked right there. And it's one less at bat. Just being a little bit more selective. That's honestly what I'm trying to work on this fall.
So is that maybe what because you're referencing, right? You're pressing because you had the thoughts of, the professional
I need to get
careers.
that hit. Need to hit one in the gap here. I need to score a run. Need to hit a homer. Just trying to do too much. But, I think just, controlling the strike zone, staying within myself, and honestly just let the game come to me, then I'm pretty confident that I'll get those numbers back up and better than they were first 2 years.
I really, Daniel, I don't know how you feel. I think the failure thing is going to ultimately be a blessing for him. I think it's going to make you, work harder than you ever had probably imagined. You're going to have a different just thought process now that you've been there. I'm not saying that you haven't had, right thought process or you haven't grinded as hard. It's something about me and Daniel can tell you at 40 years old, man, when you fail, like the bounce back is everything. And so I really do. But the last question I got, and it's not about you, I have read about the new faces that you're talking about, right? Obviously, not going to put you on the spot, name a whole bunch of them, but man, just 1 or 2 guys, doesn't matter, hitter or pitcher, somebody who just people need to be on the lookout for that they may not know yet.
Yeah, we got a couple. We got a young kid. He's a sophomore. I call him young. He's young to me. Ace Reeves is from Houston. He can swing a little bit. Left-handed hitter, third baseman. He's fighting for third base spot this year. Noah Sullivan's a two-way guy. He pitches and hits. He's He's going to DH a little bit. We have really good freshmen this year on the bump. The one, honestly, I hate to face, his name's Charlie Foster. He's a little lefty. Looks like he's got the old school wind up, steps real far back with the big leg kick. So yeah, I think we got a bunch of good new faces. They come every day ready to work.
Daniel, I got to get you some Charlie Foster footage soon. It sounds like, so you can break it down pitching wise.
Yeah, I need to know. I need to know about old Charlie Foster before this spring gets rolling around. But Hunter, man, we've had you on before. You've played the game. You know how the end of the episode works. We played this or that, but we got a special version of this or that. For all the Taylor Swift fans out there, Jim is in his minor league baseball era, meaning he's collecting minor league baseball hats that
Shout
are
out
signed
to the first guest we ever had on In Off the Bench, Jonathan Bolin for the Omaha Storm Chasers AAA. He's actually playing for the Royals now. He got called up, but Daniel, that thing is sweet for the collection.
I mean, to me, it sounds like you're going to have to, when you go to Omaha this year, we're going to have to make a pit stop at the gift store for the Omaha Storm Chasers.
Yeah, as long as it's not at Ballpark Village, because you know them hats are upcharged. Man, $65 for a hat, bro.
I need that Temu special for them Storm Chaser hats, man. All right, this or that. It's very simple. I give you two options. You choose one or the other. Can't say both, can't say neither. This is the minor league baseball edition. Hunter, are you ready to play?
Yeah, let's go.
Jim, this or that. Who's it brought to you by? There's a plethora of people to choose from.
I'm gonna go Chinook, man. Chinook Cedary, 8 flavors, mild to wild, the best in the game. But I am going to also say the Bell Smith because I can't do a Mississippi State episode without doing them. Obviously, played the clip with Matty Anderson, but literally he's got probably 50, 60 player bells out there. He got the scripture bells. You can even, like my son, he wants to go to Mississippi State and go to the School of Engineering. Daniel, you can get your Mississippi State engineering bell.
I don't believe that. I've seen this kid over the past couple weeks, and the kid went from maroon shoes to purple and gold shoes. So, I
didn't buy him those. I just let him try those on. Those Pegasus cost $150. I'll stick with those Adidas I bought him on Mississippi State campus, bro.
I mean, he did have purple and gold and everything.
Daniel, he wears his official Mississippi State shoes with all that LSU stuff. And I asked him on the ride home. That's 2 trips to Baton Rouge this fall. I was like, "Are you ready to be an LSU fan yet?" And he says, "No." So I'm not going to win him over. As a matter of fact, Hunter, you brought up that fall series when y'all won, or not fall series, the spring series when you won. We made the Jumbotron. I didn't even see it. I forgot. I'm trying to think. It was Jordan. Yeah, it was Dakota Jordan. Dakota Jordan hit a bomb, and he got up and started ringing his bell in my face, and I couldn't even see. And then Lounge Dog and all them told me we were on the thing, but I couldn't see it because he was too busy taunting me.
Right in
he's a dog,
grill,
man.
On the Jumbotron, just giving him hell.
He's dog through and through, Daniel. He's never it started with Cameron James, man, in 2021 Omaha. Like, you just can't withdraw it, dude.
I see it, but I also see the signs of hitting that transfer portal too, bro.
Now, the reason he won't, remember, this is an academic kid. He is well aware of the engineering program at Mississippi State and the one at LSU, and it is. I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it. It's a lot higher though.
It's not as prestigious.
Prestigious. That's what I was looking for. There you go.
I feel you. All right. First question out the gate, Hunter. Would you rather play for the Storm Chasers or the River Bandits? And I say play, like, of course, minor league baseball. You'll play for anybody. But if you had to choose a name, which one would you rather be? Storm Chaser or River Bandit?
Probably River Bandits.
I like the River Bandit. They remind me of like a gambler, like on a riverboat, just taking folks' money. Would you rather be a Fisher cat or a sea dog? And I still am just assuming a Fisher cat is a catfish. I have no idea what a Fisher cat is.
Sea dog.
Sea dog. All right. Dogs better than cats, as always. Would you rather be a biscuit or a rubber duck?
Biscuit.
Yep. Butter up, right,
I'm
Jim?
telling you, Daniel, everybody keeps saying biscuit. I think I thought people would say rubber duck, but I really think they feel the same. There's some, I don't know. There's something about the Montgomery biscuits, man. It's appealing.
Hey, it's these. I'm telling you, minor league baseball, when you have these outrageous mascots, the marketing ability is so much greater. It really is. I mean, you think of a simple name like the Texas Rangers. I mean, that's really weak compared to a Montgomery biscuit. Like, come on. Like there's no comparison there. All right, would you rather be a river dog or a rail rider?
River dog.
River dog.
Our
Dogs
boy likes
again.
fishing. I can tell you, he doesn't pick the water twice.
All right. Yard goat or a mud hen?
You're a yard goat.
Yard goat. That's a good one. Trash panda or rumble pony?
Rumble pony.
Yeah, there you go. Jim is on the lookout for a rumble pony hat. It's
So here's the deal, Hunter. In order for me to collect the hat, it has to be a guest of the show to autograph it and send it to me. So the problem was we haven't had any guests, I thought, until I messaged Daniel the other day. He doesn't play for them anymore, but Drew Gilbert was a rumble pony. I'm gonna need him to, I guess, because he's usually I get them to acquire them from where they're at. He's not there anymore. I'll buy my own hat this time. I'll send it to him. I need it. But the horse or the pony, shall I say, with the boxing gloves, like duking it out, is an amazing logo.
for sure, for sure. All right. Winner of the last two. Would you rather be a yard goat or a rumble pony?
Yard goat.
Yard
There
goat.
he is.
There you go. Jim's got him a yard goat hat. It's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet hat. Hunter, dude, I appreciate you coming back on. I know Jim does. Obviously, a big season for you. A lot of things in the works. You got senior campaign last year. You've got draft eligibility. You got just SEC play, chance to hopefully go to Omaha again. A lot at your disposal. The one thing I will tell you, and this is coming from a guy who knows a little bit about a lot of things, so you can put as much stock into this as you want. Go out and have fun. Don't worry about anything else. Have fun, because at the end of it, this is a game for kids. And if you have fun, I promise you, everything else will take care of itself, man. So no pressure. Go out there and do your thing, dude. You know how to play baseball. You know what to do.
Yeah.
Bump that. I want 30 home runs.
Yeah. Me too.
I mean, to me, it sounds like he only needs 13 to break the record.
Well, we're doing more than
Nice.
he wants a record that'll never be broken again.
Yeah. Put it out of reach.
I mean, as long as the dude like Charlie Condon don't come over there.
I think the key is, Daniel, though, winning the home run, it's the RBI number that comes behind it, because usually that's obviously going to be a key to your team win if dudes are on base. So I think what you want the 25 to 30 home runs, but if you can have that RBI number upwards of 75 to 100, then that means your team's winning a lot of games.
Yep.
I mean, if you're getting opportunities with guys in position, man, that's all you can ask for, dude.
Oh yeah.
Then you have some options, and then it's not like, well, my base hit here was all for nothing because it was a 2-out hit, and then the next guy struck out. But
and hey, man, embrace when Tanner Allen came on here, he talked about somebody's always got to be a lead dog. There's got to be somebody that's encouraging, pushing others. Even got to be that guy that's got to be in their face and do the uncomfortable stuff. Hey, I know it's not your thing, but hey, you might have to do it. Somebody's got to step up, and when times get tough, be that guy.
Yes, sir. All right, Hunter, anything you want to plug or promote before you get out of here?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, dude. Well, as always, have a great, successful, healthy, fun season. And when it's all over, we're going to bring you back, maybe before draft, maybe after draft. We'll see how it goes, see what you're feeling. And we'll talk about the season. We'll talk about all things Hunter Hines, man, if you're down to come back.
Perfect.
All right, dude. You are free to bounce. We We'll holla at you. Reach out if you need anything, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. All right, Jim. We got to take a break. We got some sponsors to plug, got some commercials to play. We got to pay the bills.
What's going on, everyone? Dr. Vic, Owner Relief Chiropractic. What we're going to talk about today is what could go wrong in each portion of your spine. We're going to start at the very, very top, your cervical spine. Headaches, migraines, eyesight, visual issues. Those are some of the top ones. Right here in this midsection could be heart, could be lungs, could be liver, and upper stomach issues, digestion, things of that nature. Right here in this lower part is your reproductive system. It could be a sciatic nerve, and it could be your hips. So what I want you to do is come in, see me, and let me help you figure out what the hell is going on.
Maddie Anderson.
I tell you, Daniel, I went and saw Vic today, man. You know, the same dude we played football with. He was a jokester, a character, obviously super talented. He is passionate about what he does. He loves what he does. He has worked on my wife. He's worked on Casey. He's obviously worked on me multiple times. I feel better. My wife is sleeping better. When I'm working out, I'm having less trouble. Today, he did a new routine on me. Dude, I felt like I was walking straighter. Last week, I got to do cupping for the first time. My wife got her hips readjusted. Casey was doing the tectonic plate thing and you know, getting the toxins taken out, all that stuff. And then the cryo comes with it, man, right? Because after those toxins are released, when he adjusts you, that helps the inflammation that comes, just a whole process. But man, Daniel, it's life-changing, and it's something that you told me about a long time ago, right? Like, take care of yourself. You've always told me to take care of yourself, and I've kind of neglected going and seeing someone who could help me, man, with all those you know, tweaks and pains that I got. But everybody, man, you don't have to be an athlete. You know, everybody has some kind of pain from some kind of way, even if it's as simple as sleeping wrong, right? And a guy like, you know, Dr. Vic, who's passionate about what he does, he's going to help you out, Daniel. So you can go check him out at Relief Chiropractic. And the best part, Daniel, it's located right next door to Base. We already love Base. Go in there and get your workout on too. All of it.
Go ahead, Dr. Vic. I tell you what, you know, for people now, it's more so it's the daily grind. It doesn't have to be athletes. It doesn't have to be people who are working out. It can be people who are sitting at a desk or driving and traveling. It could be anybody, because the reality is your body's not meant to sit for long periods of time. It's not meant to carry loads and you know, just trash your joints, trash your spine. And, you know, Relief Chiropractic with Dr. Vic, that's what they're trying to do. They're helping mitigate any permanent damage that could happen, but also, you know, give you some longevity and make you feel better. Because I know, Jim, when you go, I'm sure there are things that he does where you feel instant relief.
Instant. And the thing was, I took a picture of the thing that he has out there, top 10 warning signs that you may not even realize it. And you need to see it. But whether it's headaches, difficulty sleeping, numbness, loss of energy, back and leg pain, digestive problems, hyperactivity, prescription usage, difficulty breathing, and high blood pressure, going and see a chiropractor legitimately can work out those things that you may be going and seeing a doctor that isn't the right one, right? Like, you may be going to see him and that's not even you need to see. You may just need to be adjusted. And, you know, for what you're talking about, you don't have to be an athlete. He told Sarah, you know, as an artist, just her leaning over, he said most of his clients that have the most problems are people who sit at a desk all day.
Yeah. Mike Hughes asks, who can he go see for his Bears depression? I mean, he doesn't need a chiropractor. He just needs a time machine, and he needs to go back to the draft and draft Jaden Daniels is what he needs to do. But with that, we'll segue into our headlines. Obviously, a lot to talk about. But first, out of the gate, Alabama beats Georgia. And we've kind of started a new little segment on the fly. You know, Judge Jim. Jim, I'm going to ask you. I need you to be the judge. Is Alabama being charged with just having a just depressive second half, or is Alabama being charged with being really good?
I think Alabama's really good. You know, I thought it was great. Nick Saban said at halftime that this game was far from over and that Georgia was the caliber team that could make a comeback, and I think it showed. But at the end of the day, Jalen Milroe, we talk about, and we're going to talk about Jaden Daniels a little bit later with NFL. I'm not saying he's him by any stretch, but what I'm saying is his dual threat abilities. He can throw the ball downfield accurate, on the money. His ability to run and escape the pocket. I think when you look at the Georgia defense, especially the DBs, they talked about on the radio today, you have some guys who are going in the first round of the NFL, and he was going right at them with no fear. I think it said a lot, and I think maybe this team answered the call, Daniel, because when Saban didn't pick them in the preseason and he picked Georgia, there were Alabama fans and, people who came at him, and he said, you know what, all I'm trying to do is motivate these boys to let them know that they aren't there yet, but they can be. And I think the coach is still coaching from the outside, man.
I mean, he's what, special counsel? He's like the hand to the king or whatever. I mean, he's still like in it.
But I think these two teams undoubtedly have a real good shot of playing each other again. But my biggest takeaway is, you look at Beck with the 3 picks, you watch him for the first time really get flustered and frustrated real bad. Whereas, last year he didn't really have much of that. And I don't think he has ever felt the pressure. We just had Hunter Hines talking about pressure that he's never been accustomed to. I mean, when has Beck ever been down 28 points, bro?
Well, I mean, it lit a fire. It did something because they stormed back. Let me ask you this, Jim. If Georgia comes back and wins that game, what is the headline? Is it the fact that Georgia came back or the fact that Alabama?
It's the implosion. It's got to be, especially because they're at home.
Yeah. But I don't know. But like at that point, though, isn't it the expectation that Georgia is capable of doing that?
Yeah, I think people would have probably. It's funny, right? So Georgia loses, but everybody says, you know what, they'll be back. They're not stressed about them. I think if Alabama blows the game and loses, I think people write them off.
Yeah. Well,
I know. I'll tell you this: LSU ain't got a chance of beating that team even at home.
I mean, either one of those teams, it's going to be hard to beat either one of them.
Problem is defense, right? And I'm watching that Alabama offense, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's going to be something to watch.
Yeah. Speaking of disappointments, Ole Miss.
Oh, it's not a disappointment, baby.
I mean, Judge Jim, you're back in session. Let's now.
I got it. I'm going to cut you off before you say something. Lane Kiffin, 90 minutes before the game, was on College Game Day picking the big game, Georgia-Bama, not even focused on his own game. I told you I had a big problem with Ole Miss beating up on middle school teams, and the players, the fans, taking on the identity of their arrogant coach. He was so arrogant that he's literally doing picks and talking about the other game right before his game. And he was not prepared for Kentucky. His team, it showed they came out flat. Kentucky came prepared. And that's what happens when you're not the team that you really think you are. And what I mean by that is I'm not saying they're talented, but they're not Alabama like they think they are.
So, yeah, what do you think's the big? What is the person? Is it Jackson Dart, the guy that has to win the game? Because if it is, like, in comparison to Vandergraaf for Kentucky, I think that's his name,
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about, the stones of coach to call on 4th and 3, the deep shot, and Vandergraaf to throw it, put it right there on the shoulder. The play is made. Like, man-to-man, your guy against my guy. I'm going to put it there. What a play call. What a play. And that was what won them the game, man. Like, that, to me, that said how bad Kentucky wanted that game.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the breakdown of the quarterbacks, Jackson Dart was a little bit better than Brock Vandergriff. The problem is that they gave up 243 yards in the air, and Like, you can't have that. Like, you're not. You're either gonna if you're gonna do that, then you've got to score more than 17 points. And I think that's the problem, is that we're used to an Ole Miss team scoring a lot of points. And when they're held in check, it's gonna be a dogfight. And I think this is what I would be worried about if I am an Ole Miss fan, is the fact that I can only muster 17 points against the Kentucky team, and that's not gonna get it done.
Well, and another thing, they got the new lights and they've been setting records, but Daniel, they've been setting records with 50,000 people less than what LSU holds, for example. It's not a scary, intimidating place to either. Kentucky is used to playing in a lot harder than that. So I think that kind of thing is another thing. But I don't, like I said, because Ole Miss isn't proven like Alabama or Georgia or even LSU. I don't think teams walk in there scared, Daniel. And Kentucky took Georgia to the wire. They actually had them. And so you think they're scared to go in there to Ole Miss and play them to their game, especially with them walking around like they already got the game in the bag. As a matter of fact, I was looking to see Kentucky's schedule. They played 3 ranked teams remaining. They got Tennessee, Texas, and Louisville. I hope every one of them watch this game and realize that this team would absolutely love to ruin your season.
Yeah, that's one of those teams where, they've got 2 losses, but they know that SEC championship game is out of the picture.
You lost to Georgia by 1, man.
Yeah, but what they have, like the big prize at the end of the year, I don't think Kentucky has a chance to be a part of, and I think they know that. So they're like, well, what's the next best prize? And to me, it's not any other of these, other second-tier bowl games. It's how many seasons can we ruin on our way out of here? I think that's what you got to look at. And if I'm Kentucky, I'm going to embrace that. And everybody that shows up on the field with me, I'm looking to ruin their season. Luckily for Ole Miss, I still think they have a chance to get into the college playoff, but there's no room for error for them. And I would look at this, and you're right, that they're not scary to go on the road and play. Nobody is afraid to go to Ole Miss and play. People might have other thoughts, but I think the fans there are dressed up in suits, and they're probably hot as hell and probably just out of energy to cheer and make it a raucous place, because they're just so hot and so overheated in their attire. But that's neither here nor there. I just think Ole Miss has a lot to prove. And
their next 2 games on the road at South Carolina, which I'll be interested. I don't know if their stadium had any damage, but assuming everything's right, South Carolina, who's a really good team, on the road, and then you go to Baton Rouge, where you've lost 7 straight, and they did announce yesterday it is going to be a night game. So,
South Carolina has got 1 loss. They're still,
and that was LSU, and really LSU, we talked about, caught a lot of breaks to get. South Carolina was their own worst enemy on that. 2 pick sixes, and they did something to ruin them both.
Yep, and South Carolina has opportunities to work their way into something. So,
since we're live, Daniel, I got to do a plug real quick. I got tagged by, speaking of Kentucky, I have tickets to the Tennessee-Kentucky game by one of our Tennessee listeners. It's been awesome. I have been adamant about how great the Tennessee fan base has been to me on social media and in person. But they have a battle going on for the Twitter football league, which I guess is the fan bases, and somehow they're struggling to deal with Florida, and they said need help, might even have to bring in IOTV producers. So go to TFL official 01. Don't let Tennessee lose to Florida. If there's anything, Daniel, we don't want anybody that we root for to do is lose to Florida. Don't let it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Y'all make this happen. Let's go. Memphis, LSU. We'll talk Memphis. Here's the deal. Memphis wins. at this point, I don't think that you can worry too much about how they win or what the score is. You just got to win. But if you want to look deeper into it, which I'm trying not to, because what I
The
told you
radio
last week,
shows went berserk today, dude.
I'm sure they did, and I'm sure they're thinking it's more of the offense than it is anything else. And to an extent, I agree. But the biggest thing coming off the disappointment was, all right, we need to know that our defense can stop somebody again, A, and B, we need to just win the game. All right. Next week, it'll be the same thing. We just need to win the game and get a little bit better. But
I
a
think the
couple,
style points are going to matter later, possibly. But their biggest issue was the other guys not getting a chance to play. They said this is the game where everybody gets a chance to play, and you got your starters in still working because you barely have a lead going into the second half. And so I didn't get to watch to see what the actual problem was, but I can get that honestly, like because those are games where you want to get other guys some experience. You want to get your top guys some rest, but you also want the style points. So when you're talking about Middle Tennessee State, I get what you're saying, a win, but that's a game you should not have 24. You should have at least 48. You should at least be able to double that up.
Trust me, I agree with everything everyone is saying, but the week after you have such a big disappointment, it's like, all right, we just need to get a win and get some
Is the
confidence back.
disappointment as much of they talked about this though? Is the disappointment as much now that Navy's not bad?
Well, I mean, the disappointment is that a lot of the teams aren't bad. I mean, obviously,
They talked about that. The predictions, right? Like, so UTSA was supposed to be great. They're not. Navy was supposed to be terrible. They're good. Like, their predictions prior to the season for the American Athletic Conference, they talked about it, were really bad.
Oh yeah, they're terrible.
I guess they just threw them in there and picked them out of the hat, huh?
I guess so, because you're looking at an Army team who's 4-0. Like, and they're not.
Navy has got 49 points, 38 points, 56 points, 41. Obviously, the most alarming, is that the most points were against you, but they've had no trouble hanging points on anybody.
No, points Navy points forced 184, and they've only given up 94.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're doubling up teams essentially.
But to your point, Memphis was supposed to, I felt that, look, after the first couple of games, we had the discussion here. The defense looked fast. They look very, very aggressive. And then, like you said, just coming out getting torched. Like, I think that's where you're talking about the disappointment. But there is some sort of silver lining for me, at least knowing that Navy wasn't some crappy team that you really blew it against. At least it was a decent team. But your problem now is you need Navy to lose 2 games, right? Because they own you on the head-to-head. And then you brought up Army, which they brought up their schedule today. They don't even play a hard team. Like,
no, Army's and here's the thing. The Army Navy game's not even gonna matter because it's played after the conference.
Right. And so it was like, all right, you were worried about Boise State and Northern Illinois. Like, you never thought like you were gonna have to worry about the 2 military schools, right? Like, it's crazy. Service academies in your way. We already know that after they dropped the game, it was probably a pipe dream. But now when you're staring at 4, and then there was another team they mentioned, there's I forgot who, there's 5 teams in your way specifically. And that's why I said them style points don't matter, or are going to have to matter. But yeah, it's going to start with, you need Army to lose 1, and you're going to need Navy to lose 2, and you need Boise State to lose, period. And you need it to be to a team that's not good.
Boise State ain't losing, bro. They got to play UNLV, but if Genty scores 5 touchdowns every game and runs for 200 yards, like, 1, he's going to be the Heisman, and 2, they're not going to lose any games. They're not. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, even against Oregon, I think they should have beat Oregon. But I look at Navy's schedule, like I could foresee them losing a game or two. They got a Notre Dame thrown in there. They got South Florida, Tulane, East Carolina. East Carolina is top in the conference. They haven't lost a game in
Shout out to
conference.
Notre Dame with a huge win over Louisville, looking good. I go there in 2 weeks for the rivalry game. I'm hoping, I told you I was a little disappointed they lost. We usually love when Notre Dame loses, but now that I'm going there, I wanted the best atmosphere possible. I was told the atmosphere will be electric no matter what, but we know if you're a top 5 team or not top 25 team, there's a whole difference. But now they've done back up the rankings. I think they're like 12 or something. So, yeah, like cool. Like I want the best possible atmosphere, but they had a big win against Louisville. We know in the end they're not going to probably be a contender. They may make their way into the playoff just to get worked out of it, but
yeah, they are what we think they are.
Look, I'll tell you this on the LSU front. We don't even got to talk about it. The first play from scrimmage, Caden Durham went 71 yards to the house. Then the next drive, it literally
on some badass tackling, by the way.
Then it was a pass out, and then he got tackled at the 1. It was almost 2 plays, 2 touchdowns. Like there's not much you can really take from that game. Good confidence booster is about the best. Great environment, great environment. A lot of people there at night, even for South Alabama. But from a football standpoint, does it tell me if LSU's any better or worse? Absolutely not. So, like, there's no point even breaking it down.
I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. They beat a team that they should hang 50 points on.
Yeah, they got this. So because they had the 35 3 lead at half or whatever, they got those second teams in. Notice the game finished 42-10. The backups clearly. I hope we don't have to go to them outright because they couldn't score.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to see 35 points put up in the first half and only see 7 put up in the second half. Like that's tough.
But it is a nice feeling though when you can pull your top guys and they don't even have to suit up the second half. Like,
yeah, I mean, Nussmeier threw the ball 40 times.
Which by the way, talking about that Ole Miss thing, I almost forgot, Daniel. So how I talked about they got to go to South Carolina. Guess what LSU's doing this week?
They're off, right?
Yeah. So you got to go to South Carolina. They're off, chilling. Already only played a half of football against South Alabama, and then you got to come there off at night.
Play at night. No, thank you. I'll pass. Yeah, I mean, just looking at what obviously LSU's off this week. They're setting up, their matchup with Ole Miss in 2 weeks. But looking at their schedule, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Texas A&M, none of those games scare me. And then you have Bama. I told you this last week. If you can make it to Alabama now with them doing what they did to Georgia, that's a huge game. That potentially might be a top.
What that did also though, if Alabama is your only other loss, and assuming let's say Ole Miss beats South Carolina, they stay ranked where they're at 13. That's a big ranked win. Your only losses would come to USC, who what are they 11, and then Bama, who would still be number 1. You have a real good shot of still being in the playoff. And I told you before the season, I didn't think they were a playoff team. So if we make it to the playoffs, I don't think I got to tell you that's a winning season for me because I don't think they were good enough to be there. So if you find a way in there, all for it. So yeah, if you win those 4 games and then you play Bama, but you lose, but you at least make yourself a worthy adversary. Yeah, because after that you don't have anything to worry about. Oklahoma doesn't scare me either. So yeah.
Well, what you have to do at that point is if you lose to Alabama, but you win out, you have to be the biggest USC winning the Big Ten.
Right.
That way, that one loss, at least you can say, well, my one loss was to the Big Ten champ, and what would probably be the SEC champ, I would imagine.
Right. And so, I mean, it's definitely opportunities, but I mean, I'm not going to lose sleep if it doesn't happen. I know what this team is, and they're fun to watch and they're competitive, but they're not a championship team, and I mean, I'm okay with that. Like, I
Is
don't
that
have
is that the coach or the players?
I'm not a Brian Kelly fan. I'm just not. He's a great recruiter. They've lost all the openers with him. They have won some big games, so it does back it up. I don't know. I guess you know what, I'm going to play it fair and say that there's ownership on both of them, but I don't think he takes responsibility. That I've told you about that. I don't like how he passes the buck, and for me, that's never going to make me like a guy ever. I like the coaches who take responsibility when it's not even their fault. Those are my kind of guys.
Okay. I mean,
do you not respect a guy who goes to bat for his guys, and instead of it doesn't matter if they fucked up, they're not going to throw him under the bus.
Of course. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, the head coach everything starts and ends with the head coach. And if you're not willing to have it end with you and you're letting it end on someone else's back, like, I do have a problem with that. What I don't have a problem with, and is them playing teams just because they lose the opener. At least he's going out playing teams, going, hey, like, we have a competitive team. We're going to play a USC.
But I mean, LSU,
that
that's an athletic director thing. They've always done that. I mean, you remember when I was really first getting into the LSU days, that's when they were playing Oregon and West Virginia in games. Like they've always, that's what LSU does. Wisconsin's, they've always loaded up, with a power conference team right off the top. And so I think that's something they're always going to do. That's something that's done at the top. I don't know. It's kind of like the problem I have in baseball. Like LSU has maybe the two best recruiting guys at the helm, but not the best X's and O's guys. And it's something that I struggle with because I don't know. For me, I'd rather have the X's and O's guys personally. I was thinking today, I'm going to cross into college baseball for a second, Daniel, because we don't talk about it all, but was talking to Seth Halverson, who's pitching for the Rockies, for Tennessee, another one of those pitchers. And I was thinking about, the development that Beam and Halverson and even Burns while he was there, and Tidwell and all those guys, Dolander, and we've talked to all those guys on here. I've talked to them on Pros and Joes. I think Daniel, Frank Anderson has a case for not just the best pitching coach right now, maybe the best pitching coach college baseball scene. If you just look at the guys when they got there and what they've done afterward, and by the time a couple more years rolls around, he's going to have said he had 15 pitchers that he coached up that are in the MLB. That's why I like those kind of guys. I like that. Well, but luckily in their specific case, right, Daniel, Tennessee's got the master recruiter at the top, and then
you got to get the players there.
They got a trio of guys that gets it there. And that's how LSU was able, right? He had Wes Johnson, and Wes Johnson. You heard Paul Skeens come on here and Ty Floyd, and they talked about that. So you got to have those other guys. But as far as football, it was the same thing, right? Coach O, had Dave Aranda on defense and Blanken. Guy went to Carolina, Joe Brady. Anyway, you had master, offensive and defensive card. I don't even know that they're necessarily the problem. You can hang it both ways, but at the end of the day, like I said, LSU is a good team, and I'm okay with that.
Well, they got a lot to play for, so hopefully, let's just hope they go undefeated over these next few weeks and set up a big matchup with Alabama. That's what you got to hope for.
Do you know what game I want for a national championship? I'm going to throw you completely. Okay.
I mean, are we taking biases out of it, LSU's out of the equation. We're like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
game
yeah.
that you want to see.
Well, there's still a bias in it. All right, so I want Tennessee for all my Tennessee friends, but because we have Dylan Sampson at running back.
Mm-hmm.
But you know me as someone of a person of faith, and I've been following this Ohio State football revival story that has not stopped. And these dudes' character, and I never thought I would want to see success from Ohio State as someone who obviously liked Michigan and was younger and has been a hater, but Alabama's there all the time, right? So, like, I don't know, man. Give me a Tennessee, Ohio State, SEC, Big Ten showdown with two teams that don't play each other ever. Like, I want that.
It could happen. That's the great thing about this 12-team playoff now. It could happen. So just stay tuned. We'll see what happens. NFL.
We could skip it.
I mean, Cowboys win the game. All right. Not the prettiest game. Micah Parsons gets hurt towards the end. He goes out, probably going to miss some time. They hold on to win against a Giants team who wasn't that great. I would say I'm more disappointed in the fact that the offense couldn't score more. Because I would say, 15 points is for an NFL team, a defense holding them to 15. That's pretty respectable. I can 100% take that every week. But something's got to give. It can't be offense driven one week and then defense driven the next week, and there's no balance or consistency with Dallas. And I think that's really what the problem is. I think, they have receivers, but I don't think anyone's close to the tier of receiver that CeeDee Lamb is. So when you take him out of the equation, which teams are doing, it's like, all right, well, we're gonna cover the rest of these guys, and they're not gonna be that big of a deal because you're talking about Turpin, who's got speed and can do some things, but he's not. Yeah, he's not the route runner that CD is. He's not the speed. Yeah, they're just not the same. And then there's no running game.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you because I just saw this, Daniel. When you see, how does it? All right, and first of all, Dowdle did decent. I think he's actually a pretty good back. Obviously needs time to grow, but another huge game from Tony Pollard. Like, are you frustrated you let him go, or are you more frustrated that he didn't produce the way he was supposed to? Like, was that something you found that was his fault? That was it the offensive line? Was it the offense in general? Like, but we know as Memphis guys what Tony Pollard is, and we know what he could be, and we got excited that he was going to be the lead guy last year, and it was a bust. And then here he is in Tennessee, and on a terrible team with a terrible quarterback, going off for a second time already this year.
So super biased on Tony Pollard. All right. Memphis guy. Of course, I love Tony, and I'm happy that he's having success. I don't really like the fact that he's having success with the Titans and not the Cowboys. But I don't think his stint with the Cowboys could be called unsuccessful. I mean, did he have a down season compared to the 1,000 yards he got the season before? Absolutely. But there are a lot of things at play last year that prevented him from doing that. So I wouldn't put it all on him. But when you look at the rushing game and you've got Rico Dowdle, Zeke, you got Hunter Lipke, you got CeeDee Lamb, who finally, thank God, they're starting to put him in the backfield and moving him and getting him the football. It's like putting Debo back there, like give your athlete opportunities to make things happen. But that just tells me like, you're got a running back by committee. You only had 80 rushing yards. Your highest carrier was 11 carries, which was Rico Dowdle. No touchdowns. The longest run that you had was 10 yards, and that was by CeeDee Lamb. So, like, that's the problem right now is the rushing game. And when you don't have a rushing game, it makes defending you really easy, especially when you can bombard one guy. So I think Dallas is not the team that I had hoped that they would be, but at the end of the day, they won a game that they had to win.
Well,
Pulls them to
I'll tell you this.
500, and I think
The good
moving
news
forward,
is
they
the
just got to keep
Eagles
winning.
aren't the team we thought they would be, and we'll get into the Commander. Or if you want to go ahead and just make the Commanders the next topic, we'll get the Saints in a minute.
Yeah, let's get into the Commanders. We'll look at
Do you see sustainable? Because we know I'm going to be biased, so I'm going to ask you. Let me flip it and ask you the question instead you ask me, because I obviously think he will. I watched him last year. I felt that he was what should be the number one pick on the board. You did too, of course. That's why they like to mess with Mike Hughes. The Bears are idiots. There's no other way to put it. Dude is ascending and doing things that he didn't even do at LSU. But I asked you, and we saw CJ Stroud last year. He was able to keep it up. This is a tough division we just talked about. When you, regardless of Dallas and Philly not looking like they were, that's still, it's a hard division to be able to take and win. Can the Commanders sustain this? Can Jaden Daniels continue what he's doing, and can they actually win this division?
Can they win a division? Yeah, because the other three in the division are playing not poorly, but they're not playing as expected. They're not playing to potential. I will say the big, this next stretch of games is going to tell a lot for Jaden Daniels, because the one thing is he hasn't faced a lot of good defensive competition. And the one that he did, they played Tampa and they lost.
Well, it ain't you said that it ain't in the next game. They host the Browns next.
But what I'm getting at is at least the Browns have a named guy on that team where he causes a problem. Yeah. And if he gets to you, he's going to cause a problem. But then the Ravens, the Panthers, not so much, but the Bears, I think, have a great defense. Their just offense is terrible.
Yeah, we definitely, that game, that's the one where I want to see him show out, and I'm hoping his defense shows up and
which,
looks better.
I'm sure there's some motivation on both ends for that. But then
the Ravens, since it's not our topic, that's going to be a tough one, because they, against the Bills last night, were the Ravens but that was what they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And they hadn't been through a couple of weeks, and it's better to do it later than early.
Let me tell you a sad reality, Jim, is that guy by the name of Derrick Henry could have been wearing a Cowboys uniform, but they chose not to. Explain that to me. You get a guy and it's not like his price tag was that expensive.
I actually know the answer. So he's literally a freak of nature, because when every other running back would decline at this point, he bust off an 87-yard run where he was leaving DBs behind him. This dude is beating out the traditional father time for running backs.
Remember those times when he was just running over people? Now he's outrunning people.
But have you seen it? So I've always seen his workout videos, right? And his workout regimen spoke for itself. But did you see that he spends $250,000 on his diet? Every year.
It works.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm not knocking him. What I'm saying is this dude already worked out harder than everybody. Obviously was given God-given, blessings and talent and size in general and athletic ability, and then puts in the most work. And, oh, by the way, I'm just going to eat better than everybody else too. But I think I don't know that I necessarily get too upset at the Cowboys, just because they were just going based on historically. I still would have got him, but I'm not going to sit there and point a finger on that one, because most guys just tend to decline. It's why Alvin Kamara can't get a contract. He had another big game this week, but I think he can go off all year, Daniel. I still don't think the Saints will pay him, because he actually has, unlike Henry, shown even while he's playing great, has shown some, areas of decline. He doesn't make guys miss in the open field and have that elusiveness anymore. And usually just running backs, man, 30 is the expiration date as far as getting a contract and being the main guy.
I just feel like when you put Derrick Henry's name next to Rico Dowdle, Ezekiel Elliott now, obviously, but like that's a no-brainer. Even
Right.
Even Tony Pollard, like it's still a no-brainer, especially when you say, all right, we're going to take our leading rusher and get rid of him, and we're going to bring in a guy that we had that ended up not having the greatest couple seasons before he exited. We're going to bring him back, and then this new guy, we're going to give him the chance to run the ball more. Why even just get rid of all that and bring in Derrick Henry and be like, all right, if it works, it works. If not, then we're in the right. But if it doesn't work, you're in the same spot that you're in now.
Yeah, I would have kept Tony Pollard or Derrick Henry, but I think your bigger issue, and I'm not even a Dak hater, I think your biggest issue is overpaying your quarterback. That's where it really all starts.
I mean,
but we'll end up on the Cowboys all night if we do that.
Right. So let's get back to Jaden.
You want to talk about our final fantasy score or no?
I mean, my team's not very good, man. There's nothing to talk about. Your team
is messing with you. It's not. I would have beaten anybody in the league. I would have beaten anybody in the league this week again. 4-0, bro, with more than 120 points scored than the person or than any other team that's even in town.
What I think is hilarious is your lack of being able to read the room in phone conversations to me, like when you're talking about when you're beating me in fantasy and then you're talking about how good your team is or other aspects of other leagues where you wish certain things were happen. Like this week, I don't care about your fantasy teams, bro.
I won all three. They had to make up for the team that we're going to talk about next. The Saints. Daniel. A muffed punt into the end zone to give up a touchdown to start the game. I don't care what Randy Jower says, where one play doesn't dictate everything. They lost by 2. Okay, that was 6 points. That mattered. But as if that fluke play wasn't enough, a ball gets batted 1,000,000 yards up in the air and falls right into the linebacker who runs it to the house. Like Derek Carr played phenomenal. He was back to the quarterback he was the first 2 weeks. Like I said, Alvin Kamara ran. But instead of spending too much time on everything else, I'm gonna talk about my man crush because it's actually meaningful, Daniel. So I thought the real reason they lost against the Eagles was Taysom Hill missing. Not availability to have established the run because he was the lead blocker for Kamara. They couldn't get 2 different short yardage situations. So first half of this game, Taysom Hill gets 2 touchdowns. He's the lead blocker for Kamara again. He's also catching passes, all sorts of stuff, doing everything. Doesn't come back to play in the second half. What a surprise. Their offense starts to stall out again. It doesn't matter if he's lining up at the quarterback, the fullback, the running back, the tight end, the wide receiver. The guy's a football player. He's versatile, and he's meaningful to their team. And statistically, it would show that they're just not as good when he's not there. So that dude's got to find a way. And I know I'm asking a lot, right? I'm telling dude to stay healthy when he plays every snap somewhere on the field, right? He's still on kickoff team for crying out loud.
I just pulled up the box score stats, and I just to make sure, I went down to defense to make sure Taysom Hill didn't get a tackle or anything. Like they just didn't throw him in there and be like, "Hey man, can you help us out here too? Since you do everything."
No, I actually last year was a great stat. He had 14 tackles on kickoff last year. Like you ask yourself that at this point it's a little cute. It's a little too much, right? Like why is he on kickoff team if he's valuable to offense? But he matters, man, and it's a big deal. But Derek Carr at least showed me that he's not the worst quarterback in the league, like the way he made me feel the game for. The defense was money all game. They couldn't do nothing Like you said, special teams and offense gave up the points. A bad defensive pass interference call. Like I told you, I hadn't even watched it. I don't even want to watch it to have an opinion on it. I just know whether they did it or not, it's what got them in range for a 58-yarder. And regardless of how good or bad Atlanta's been, for as long as Koo's been in the league, I don't know, was it been like 3-4 years now? That dude is money in the bank.
Yeah. Does it bother you that they had no receiving touchdowns? Is that like an area of concern?
No, I mean they were passing plenty. Specifically, like Olave ran out at the 2-yard on the one, and then Taysom ran it in. Like it's not like they just ran the ball downfield and there wasn't any throwing. And I'm not somebody who cares about car stats. I ain't got him in fantasy, so I'd rather watch Taysom score. So no, that don't bother me. I thought the offense actually looked really good. And Alvin, like I said, Alvin looked back, but then they stalled when Taysom wasn't there. So the Saints are basically they're 2 plays, Daniel, from being 4-0. 2 DBs running into each other. Or this game, you can either pick the muff punt or if you want to pick the pass interference, whatever. I just know, regardless, Daniel, if you want to blame it on that, that's what you can't have to start a game. Your defense does their job, and it's not just that he muffed. I called it the worst play that I've ever seen a Saints player do. Like, I've never seen a guy running backwards inside his own 5, which is it's a cardinal sin as it is, and then muffs it into the end zone for them to fall on. Like, it was literally like it looked like it was being gifted.
He's like, "Here you go, take this."
It's like
a guy who calls fair catch and runs backwards to catch the ball.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't.
I think the NFL should be looking at Rashid Shaheed for point shaving. I'm concerned. But I do have a topic that isn't on there, Daniel. Just because this game is about at its close.
Blake Gooding's pissed off because he said Derek Carr wants to show up after he leaves the Panthers. I think a lot of people want to leave the Panthers, Blake. Andy Dalton doesn't even want to be there, and he's gunslinging right now.
I hate to inform Blake Gooding. Derek Carr did not play for the Panthers. David Carr did. That's his older brother from Fresno State. Get your facts. But, Daniel, no. Seattle's fixing to lose to Detroit 42-27. Detroit really should be 3-0. Their coaching was and they're at home. Is this probably more because we knew the Lions? You did a whole segment on it, right? On how good the Lions were prior to the season when you were doing your individuals. And I think this is more probably about Detroit is that good, huh?
Yeah. I mean, 1, they're playing at home. 2, they got sick uniforms on. 3, I mean, they're playing in a division where the Minnesota Vikings are the best team. Like, yeah, they're like.
And are they to win 4 games in the NFL is winning 4 games, and to win all 4 that you've played in a row, like it's Sam Darnold, and you want to not believe, but Daniel, man, 4-0 is 4-0, and the touchdowns that they're scoring are a lot.
I don't want to like downplay or not give Sam Darnold his credit, so I'm not. I'm going to give him all the credit in the world because he beat a Giants team 28-6 that the Cowboys could barely beat. He beat a 49ers team that, I mean, lost in the Super Bowl, beat a very good Texans team with a very good quarterback, and then just went into Lambeau and beat the Packers. So NFC championship team, right? Or good football team. You go into Lambeau and you beat them. It's not.
We talked about it. There's nobody. It's not like the AFC, right? There's a lot scarier when you talk about Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore. With San Francisco being kind of down and having injuries, there's not that team in the NFC that scares you. So I mean, it's available there for Minnesota to win, undoubtedly.
Yeah, I still think the Lions are the scariest team in the NFC. And I think that there what we talked about on the phone today. There are other teams that aren't necessarily scary, but they're teams that you question the matchup if you're matched up against them in the playoffs. And like in particular, we were talking Bucks and Saints, two teams that you don't want to be matched up with in the playoffs. Not that you think that they're any better, but in a one-game scenario, like you could see them playing really well and playing good enough to beat you and having guys that are going to make it a lot difficult for you. But the Vikings, I mean, outside of the Jets, they got the Lions in a couple weeks. And then, I mean, they got Rams, Colts, Jaguars, Titans, Bears, Cardinals, Falcons. Bears again? Are you kidding me? Like,
well,
if they don't,
division, they
like,
get the Bears twice. Everybody in that division gets that 2 wins.
I mean, like, if you think about it, like, they should beat the Jets, right?
Yeah.
Let's say they drop one to the Lions. That's 5-1. They got the Rams.
The Jets actually had me believing they might be okay after the previous week, and then after playing Denver this week, I'm right back where I was after week 1.
They could be 13-1 Christmas week going to Seattle to play the Seahawks. Are you kidding me? Like,
I don't see the Seahawks sustaining their success. I mean, they're a good team. They're probably a playoff team, but
I just say when you it's Christmas week, you're traveling to the West Coast, like it's probably like it's not going to be with those factors in, I don't think it's a guaranteed,
is
easy.
the team to beat still though? Like, I mean, it's got to be if San Francisco gets fully healthy, obviously starting with McCaffrey, but the whole, Debo, Kittle, all of them are healthy. Like, they're still the team to beat. There's no doubt about it.
I don't know, man. Something every time I see them, something just doesn't look right. And maybe it's because they're not whole and there's a piece missing.
Yeah, McCaffrey has shown his value because every time he's missing.
But I see like I watched Tampa play this weekend, and like I can see where glimpses of them being the best team. I can see glimpses of the Saints being the best team. I can see glimpses of the Vikings, the Lions, and at times the Eagles being the best team. But I still think Detroit is the best team, only because I just think San Francisco's in that we've figured this out. Everyone's a little bit older and they can't stay healthy enough to give yourself a chance. Now, if they're all healthy, then maybe I'm proven wrong. But I still think the Lions, and it's probably a little bit of recency bias because I can look over at the TV and they're beating the crap out of Seattle 42-27. So, but I'm going to go Lions being the best team in the NFC right now.
Got no issues with that take.
So obviously, the Ravens, I believe they're good against Josh Allen for whatever reason. They're good against the Bills. They play them well, play them hard. Last night was no different. Have they figured it out was the question. They're 2-2, and I don't know the answer to this, because when you lose to the Chiefs, it's like, all right, if you're ever going to figure it out, if you're ever going to be the team that people are going to believe in, that's a team that you got to beat.
Well,
and they haven't.
The Chiefs are – Patrick Mahomes is the greatest player, even over Tom Brady.
They just win. Like, that's –
I know, but if they win after another receiver went down – literally, dudes I've never heard of on the street that are going to be playing receiver. If they win again, he's the greatest quarterback to ever play this game. I don't care. Like,
I wish I could throw some pads on, because I'm confident that if you put me in a Chiefs jersey, like, Patrick Mahomes could make me look good.
Yeah, he'll throw you over.
We would win games. I'm not saying I would score a touchdown or anything, but he would put me in good positions, I think. But the Ravens lose to the Raiders. Like, you can't lose to the Chiefs. and lose to the Raiders on back-to-back, and then turn around and beat the
The
Cowboys and
Bills are
beat
going
the
to be
Bills, and
the
people
Bills are
be
going to
like,
be in a good
"Oh, you're
position
bad."
though because their division's terrible, right? So after Tua's went down, the Dolphins have just completely fell off. They're 1-3. They are not just losing, but they're getting whooped by teams. We just talked about the Jets, that they're a decent team, but they're nothing to be scared of. And then New England's not good. So like the Bills are, no matter what, they're going to be a team that wins that division. They're going to beat up on those teams. They're going to be a team that's going to be a top seed. So like I'm not worried about the Bills. We know the Chiefs, even with what we were just talking about, the injuries, they're going to be there. So yeah, like I mean, I still think the Ravens are probably that third team, even though they just beat the Bills. But I still think they have a chance. It really comes down to we got to see Lamar win in the playoffs. He finally won a game, but he still hasn't, made that run. Can he be big in the moment? I'll tell you the last thing, and then when we can move to MLB, the last thing on this Ravens. My question for you is Mark Andrews. How did this dude? And I think about it because obviously fantasy has became a story, but then I finally watched Ravens. How did this dude? Like, I get Isaiah Likely is a great tight end, but how dude that was like the second, third, really the second best tight end in fantasy was his go-to target is all of a sudden just obsolete, and it's not even because he's injured.
I mean, it could be a number of different things. It could be just people are zoning in on him and they're going, okay, well, if Mark Andrews was your go-to guy, like we're going to make sure he's not. Because, I mean, no disrespect to Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers, but they don't jump off the roster like.
Sounds like you got something personal against Zay Flowers, Daniel. I wonder why that is.
I mean, he's got to do better, bro. He's got to do better.
But
my point being, yeah, of course. But my point being is like they're not guys like after last year. Mark Andrews is a guy you got to be accountable for. Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely are not.
What I want you to do is I want you to sound off about McConkey. Do it.
I mean, so
dude ain't done nothing for you. You take him to the bench, and then he shows up.
So it all comes down to Keenan Allen, me not trusting him to play him because of just one, a very bad quarterback that they have. Two, they have a plethora of receivers that I just think he's the third receiver there, and it's really hard. He's either going to have a big game or not, and I just didn't have faith in him, and he didn't. Lad McConkey was one where I'm going, okay, if George Kittle is not going to play, then I'm going to put him like it's between a George Kittle or him in a flex, and I chose George Kittle, which I mean, George Kittle had a touchdown, great, but Lad McConkey, you ain't done shit all year, and then all of a sudden you want to put up 17 points. The good news is it wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't matter. But I also put Lockett in as well because of the whole Keenan Allen situation, because I got to have a receiver in there, and I don't know what Tyler Lockett did tonight. Probably nothing, but he was projected.
He's got you 11.
Oh, well, he's.
I'm just excited because not had nothing to do with you. I'm just talking about general. I'm doing that well, and I get Nick Chubb next week. That's gonna work out. I'm telling you, Chubb is the man.
Well, enjoy that. We'll see what he's like. But getting back to Mark Andrews, I just think they don't have enough weapons that people are afraid of, and so they go, we're gonna body up Mark Andrews and prevent him. Like Harbaugh is confident that he's gonna break out of this slump. He's confident that he's gonna be an integral part of the passing game in a game or two, but like that's not Mark Andrews last year. Mark Andrews was integral in every game, not just like a couple games here and there. So I'm not really high on Mark Andrews as far as having a breakout. He might have a game here or there, what it sounds like, but he's not going to be the fantasy guru at tight end like he was last year. So all you Ravens fans that are hoping for something different, just temper your expectations a little bit.
I got the right Raven. I got Derrick Henry and my other two. Luckily, you didn't have to face him.
No, it's all good though. Baseball. Got to get to baseball because the playoff brackets are set. It is looking like this. Yankees in the American League. Yankees and Guardians are getting buys. So they'll be waiting. The Yankees will be waiting best of 3 series between the Orioles and the Royals, and the Guardians will be waiting for best of 3 series. Well, actually, I think
Yeah, I'm looking at. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to make a bold statement. I'm not talking about who wins. I'm talking about. I think that first round in the American League, both those series, this could be the best first round ever since we went to any kind of format like this. I mean,
I think both sides. I think both sides combined.
Yeah, no,
the
both sides
wild
are,
card matchups could be the best.
But specifically, like when it could, like the Royals and the Orioles. But what intrigues me is Skubal going against the Astros, dude. Like if he takes that game like you expect him to, Detroit's got to win one of two. Like, and there's nothing mean you would like more than the Astros to leave in the first round. Like that one's got major intrigue. But yeah, no, all of them do. I was actually upset that it fell with the Padres and the Braves. I actually kind of found myself, wanting to see the Padres, actually have some success. But obviously with Austin Riley being a Brave, I can't root for that.
True. So American League, who's your favorite? Who are you going with?
Oh man, I really like the Orioles.
I mean, this is the year. I mean, they built their team for this year and next year. I think they've got to be healthy, and I don't think they're 100% healthy. Like, I think the Royals are going to make it tough on them. I think the Orioles will win, but I think the Royals are going to make it really tough. I think for me, it's hard to pick the Yankees just because of letdowns in prior years, but it feels like a different Yankees team. And because of that, I'm still not going to pick the Yankees as a favorite. I'm going to pick the Guardians. You're talking about a 92 win team where the only guy that you have in the top 5 of any category is Jose Ramirez with stolen bases, and he's like 5th. And so what that tells me is these guys know how to manufacture runs. They can all contribute at any point in time, and they know how to win. And because of that, like I think that stuff matters in the playoffs. So I think my favorite is the Guardians.
Well, and think about this. So you talk about the Guardians, the Royals, and the Tigers. They all come from the same division. Of those teams, the Guardians are arguably the most deserving team in there. To have that bye to beat out what you would say was the hardest division, because you have 2 other teams there. You're the most battle tested team, right? So to have the 92 wins that you talked about and come from that division kind of speaks for itself as well. So I mean, I don't think there's anything in front of them that makes them nervous.
Right.
The Yankees, the murderers row, man, that lineup is hard to pick against, but it's what you said. Like at this point, like, I mean, how many times, even though we didn't want to pick them, they just looked unbeatable. We pick them and then they lost. We won't pick the Astros. And so, yeah, that's why I'm going to go with the Orioles. That's who I'd like to see do it, but I'm perfectly okay with the Guardians. It's what it's always is, right, Daniel? We're just okay as long as it's not the Astros or the Yankees.
There you go. As far as a dark horse, I'm going to counter your Orioles and I'm going to go Royals. You got a great hitter.
Tigers because of Skubal, man.
Well, but here's the thing you got to look at, man. The Royals got guys like Bobby Witt Jr.
Never heard of him.
Well, you're going to, trust me.
But here's the thing. Cedary bag,
Right. Lemon pepper, but I mean, he's on the back, bro.
Yeah, wrong bag. Can we talk about that? I mean, can we get a change? Like,
yeah, I mean,
gotta be on the barbecue by now.
I know. Barbecue Bobby Witt.
You know what? We've never asked that question. Maybe you have. I wasn't around if you did. Did he request lemon pepper or did they make that move? I need to know. I'm going to find out when we get off here.
He probably requested it. I'm sure that was his thing. But when you talk about the Royals outside of Bobby Witt, when you go to their pitching, you got 3 big-time arms in the top 10 of all pitching stats for the league: Seth Lugo, Cole Reagans, and our boy Michael Waka. Like you know where I stand when it comes to the playoffs and what is really needed to win, and it's depth on the mound, and especially at the starter role, and the Royals have that. So I think Orioles might be in for a tough time. If they can, if the Royals can manufacture some runs, like it's going to be tough.
That's what we said. I mean, that first round, I mean, whoever wins, you're not going to be surprised at all.
No, not at all. Dark horse, who you got?
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna stick with it being the Tigers. I guess it isn't a dark horse when your Triple Crown pitcher is who he is, but I just think, I think he gets them game 1, and so then you're asking them to win one of the other two. Like, I don't know. I like it.
We get to be in that mid-afternoon baseball push where you get Tuesday. You're going to get the Tigers at the Astros tomorrow at 2:30, and then you get them tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday at 2:30. You get
for real? I'm not even gonna be able to watch that. What in the world?
You're going to get the Royals and the Orioles at 4 p.m. or 4:30 the next 3 days. Then we get to the National League, but I guess we can go to National League. Favorite for me, obviously, the Dodgers. I mean, it's hard not to pick them. When I look, I mean, the Phillies are good, don't get me wrong, but I just think the Dodgers just have everything that you need
I have
for a championship,
the best
and
question.
they have had it for years. So, with that, what's your question?
Okay, it's easy to hate the Dodgers with the money, LA, everything that comes with it. But unlike the Yankees, who don't have characters that just excite me, when you look at the guy that Shohei Ohtani is, and just the most likable guy in the world, and Mookie Betts is, when you look at the word professional, and when they've had him in the booth and he's talked, or you watch his interactions with the fans, when we talk about true grow the game stuff, Mookie is like a guy that I would have put on the face of it. When you have two guys that are that likable as your stars, like, can you forget the whole money thing in LA and root for them because of those two guys?
Oh, man. I think yes, because of the fact that they're changing the history of the game. Like, Shohei Ohtani is creating a different history of baseball than what's traditionally been baseball.
I mean, did you see what Mookie did last week when you're talking about the people didn't even realize it was the kid's first major league hit, but Mookie did. And he went out to the outfield and acquired the ball himself. And then he went back and took one of his bats to the guy for giving him the ball and then got it to the kid.
Right. I mean,
that's stuff.
That's big league stuff. That's something that not every big leaguer, even the best guys, aren't going to do that.
And then I think on the Shohei thing, we sat there and told Hunter Hines earlier to make sure he doesn't forget that he's playing a kid's game and having fun. Shohei always looks like he's having fun. Always.
I mean, even when he's betting on games, he's having fun.
Is it? Do you think it's because of his success? Do you think he would be that same character if we saw him in some struggles? Like, I actually do. I think he actually just really has fun.
Yeah, I think he's a kid at heart. It's just hard because of he's not a traditional come up through the system. You know who he is. You see him all the time, and then boom, now he's playing, for your your favorite team, or he's playing in the MLB. He came up, through Japan, and now he's here, and he had this following and this presence and this career already that he just transposed into America. And it's really hard to, like, now, I mean, everyone is a fan, but it's hard to really get behind him when things like that happen. So um because you didn't know anything about him until he got here. And then you're like, "Oh
Mm.
yeah, this guy does this, this, and this.
I
I
know
wonder if he's going to be good."
I
And
know that I would keep him as just a hitter, and I'm going to go based upon in off the bench. We had Austin Riley came on here and talked about once he stopped pitching, how much better of a hitter he became.
yeah,
And we had Paul Skeens come on here and tell us how much of a better pitcher he became when he stopped hitting. I'm just going to go off the two guys that are monsters that came on this show and said when they focused on one, they got a lot better at one. And when you look at what Shohei's done this year, when he's only doing one, he's going to do the other. So what I'm saying doesn't matter. I'm just telling you what I think. When you're hitting like this, I feel like you just don't mess with it.
true. I agree. As far as dark horse, who you got? Who's your dark horse?
I mean, you can't. I mean, with the Braves' postseason success in the ring, you can't really call them a dark horse. I don't think so. Um, I mean, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with the Mets.
I, I'm gonna agree with you, man. And here's why. Not that I like anything about the Mets, but I do think that having to play games like they had to play today, memorable games, um, it creates this aura around you, and that's the kind of things that you've seen it. Teams get hot at the right time, and they start believing that they can do anything. And like even the Braves, like I feel like nobody else was popping champagne today, and they get to turn around and play again tomorrow, like, which is a big deal. Like they like that feeling. It's very new to them. Hey, let's keep this train rolling. Um, and I say Mets as the dark horse over the Braves, and the comparison that they played today, and they got to participate in the same like celebrations. But the Braves, I don't think are a dark horse given what they've done in the past few years. Um, so that leaves me with the Mets. I mean, I think the Brewers are banged up. I think Blake said that in the chat. The Brewers are banged up. But the Padres, Jim, I'll ask you, man. It seems like 4 years ago we talked about the Padres being the team, and this was their time. I think they sneakily get by us this year, and now they're in the playoffs. And is this the year where they make a run and we go, oh man, like we didn't expect this?
I think they benefited from what we're talking about. The Dodgers are taking so much attention. I think just no one's paying attention. They had, the batting, the champion. I don't know why I went to call him something else. Anyway, you obviously look. Let me tell you something. There's something about when you punch your ticket to the postseason with a triple play. I feel some kind of magical when that's how you do it. Like when that happened, I thought this team could win it all. Like, but yeah, like the fact that all the attention was on the Dodgers. I mean, they didn't just like, barely make it, right? Like they were really, really good and had a really, really successful season. So I think they benefited from that. And we've talked about that no matter what the sport is. You love when the eyes aren't on you and nobody's paying attention to you. That's the best position to be in.
Absolutely. Can't beat it.
So are we
All right.
going to I don't obviously we're not going to make picks for the whole thing, but are we going to make the official picks on these 4 series?
Yeah, let's do it. So I'll let you lead it off. So you want to do American League or you want to do National League first?
American.
All right, American. You got Royals, Orioles. Who you got?
Orioles.
How many games?
3.
I'm going to take the Royals in 2.
Wow.
Royals in 2. Let's go.
What a hater.
Yeah, I'm hating hard. Astros, Tigers.
Tigers in 2.
I'm taking Astros in 2. I mean, it's hard not to. Padres, Braves.
Braves in 3.
I'll go Braves in 3. I just think exactly what we talked about, like having that taste being so new, but also the fact that they're not really a dark horse. Like they're a pretty damn good
I wonder
team.
what the Dodgers are sitting there wanting. Like it's the Braves every year, right? Are they like, and they've won some.
I'll tell you.
Some. They're like,
I'll tell you
these guys again.
No, I'd tell you what they're hoping for. They're hoping for the Padres so they don't have to do that East Coast, West Coast swing.
True.
Guarantee you that. Like they want that West Coast, that 2-hour trip and be done. They want to finish a game, finish the last away game and hop right on the plane and get home and still be home in time for dinner. That's what they want. Brewers and Mets.
Mets in 3.
Mets in 3. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll go Mets in 3.
We agreed in the National, and we're completely opposite as far as you could be in the American.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah, Blake is hating on me for my American League picks, but he said he's 100% on board with the West Coast. That's what the Dodgers want. Which
Braves are too hurt.
Yeah, Braves are too hurt, man.
What? He's a Braves fan. You're supposed to be biased.
No, I think he was talking about. He did say Oh shit! I read that wrong. I thought he said the Brewers were too hurt, but he said the Braves are too hurt. I don't know. Hey, weren't too hurt today. I still feel like the Mets and the Braves got together and they said, "Hey, look, man, this is how it's gonna go. We'll take game 1, no big deal. You guys take game 2, and we'll call it a day. we'll both get in. It'll be fine, right?" All right, man. Grow the game, do betters. What do you got for us?
Grow the game is going to be volleyball, not baseball. Obviously, I was at the LSU versus Texas game. Record attendance, 3,885 fans in attendance to watch college volleyball on a Sunday as a true grow the game moment.
Damn good. Damn good.
And, I think if you were a fan of LSU and you came in there, I don't think you left there feeling unsatisfied with LSU losing, because I told you they got to see what the best looks like, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, not at all. Almost 4,000 fans on a Sunday showing up. I mean, that's big.
That's tough. You're talking about, coming off a night game at LSU, so they may not want to get out. You're talking about NFL Sunday, all those things.
Shout out to LSU. Let's go. All right. Do better. What's your do better?
I don't think I've ever had a more distraught do better. I pulled the pictures up. I tagged you in it. I don't know if you saw it, because I sent it to Blake Burkstad. He's been very, very upset. You obviously got to hang out with him in Omaha. They're from the Oakland area. He took, not only did Scott go his whole life to games, but took Blake there growing up, really hurt by them leaving to Oakland. But, he started telling me about all the moves that, John Fisher had done. And we were aware of a lot of them on the surface. You may have been aware of more than I have. I don't know how much you dug deep. We're aware all the way back to Moneyball, right? That they're cheap. But when you dig in, and I started reading these and I started watching these things, I even watched news anchors attack him viciously with how much they hate this dude. This dude really screwed the people out of their team because he's cheap. And as a news anchor on this one said, he tarnished his family name and it would never be recovered. And that seemed like a drastic comment, but he did because he was born into a billionaire family and given an amazing opportunity, and he was so cheap that he screwed it up and messed it up for an entire city.
Damn. Do better. Do better.
I mean,
Now
he
the
refused to pay his players. He always got them off. He refused to upgrade his stadium. Like, I mean, and here's the thing, like, why the one story. So the Warriors owner, who completely revamped, right, everything to do with Golden State and built them a new arena, and you see the success and the money he was spending. He offered to buy the A's, and dude won't sell. Like, and I think about what happened with the Warriors, and that would be cool, man. Me and you have always talked about how we root for Oakland. They're a team that they're the underdog. We like it. And the fact that this dude has prevented that, like, what a dirtbag.
Well, I can tell you this. They're going to bigger and better pastures if they can hang on for a couple years in Sacramento. They'll have a brand new stadium in Vegas. And
read the story on that today.
Nope.
There has been not even talks or discussion of an actual stadium in Vegas. It's just a pipe dream still.
Well, I wonder what they're going to do.
Go to Nashville. They like to have all these pro teams and think that they're the best city in the world.
Is it feasible though? Like, there are cities out there with multiple teams. Could San Francisco take in another team?
Could. I mean, it's a large enough city for sure.
They have the revenue to do it. And I always say San Francisco because it's close, but also it's. I got something to say about San Francisco here in a second. But like, where would they go? Like, I don't.
Here's the question I got for you for thinking about the Burks. Do you root for them in Vegas, or do you just find a new team and you rid yourself of what you were put through?
I think if you're a true fan and you wanted them to succeed, like if it's like the hero and villain, it's like the ultimate, like, good against evil. Like, if you are truly for the good guy, then when they leave, you want the good guy to still win, right? Because you don't want the evil to be like, see, told you. That's why we didn't do that here. So I feel like you got to. Like, if you're ultimately good versus evil, then you got to pick the good guy and you got to go with them. So something I wanted to shout out: San Francisco Giants organization. All right. We talk about growing the game, but very rarely do we get the opportunity to talk about it at the professional level. But they just hired, I don't know if you read this, Jim, but they just hired Buster Posey as the president of baseball operations, which I think is a full circle way to show, one, respect for the guys that help you build what you've built. And I think it's clear to say that, Buster Posey is one of the best catchers maybe of all time because of his standing with other players. There's never been a player that was like, oh, Buster Posey, he wasn't that good. He wasn't a good guy. Like, he was an asshole. Like, everybody that's talked about Buster Posey has always been like, he didn't get the respect that he earned. He didn't get his due. Like, he was a way better player. Like, he was a catalyst for certain things. People talk to him. He wasn't on the same level as a Greg Maddux as far as like the baseball mind and influence, but like, people would talk about him like they would talk about Greg Maddux. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing to grant him the opportunity to be the president of baseball operations. Whether he can run a baseball program, that'll be determined. But I think given a guy who has the knowledge and played the game and the opportunity, I think that's pretty damn cool.
No doubt.
And then lastly, we got to say, pour one out for Pete Rose, man. What a legend. Obviously, depending on what circle you want to find yourself in, they're good and they're bad. Obviously, what I will say about him is the bad is the bad, but the good, he put bat to ball more times than anybody else has ever done it. And like, I can't downplay that because that's a big deal. And like when you do stuff like that, you create history. And when we talk about, records are meant to be broken and like growing the game and like this is one of those moments that helps people grow the game. But I think the one thing that gets overlooked with Pete Rose because he was such a good hitter is like he played the game the way I would want anybody to play it, as hard as they possibly fucking can. Like he hustled, he grinded. Like there was never a time when he was on that field where he wasn't trying to, take singles and make them doubles or take doubles and make them triples or, scoring from first base on balls in the gap. Like the guy just got after it. So I think that's overlooked a lot of times. He did get the nickname Charlie Hustle for those reasons. He is arguably, I don't think arguably, but some people will say the best hitter ever in baseball. But there's guys like Barry Bonds and Tony Gwynn that are out there that are pretty good fucking hitters too. But with that, RIP Pete Rose, bro. Jim, anything else before we bounce?
Man, no, I thought that was a good way to end it. Not nearly as dramatic, but nonetheless, Charlie Blackmon, not maybe the most well-known player, but retiring. But dude was under the radar when I picked him up way back when, and he won me big part of winning me back-to-back fantasy baseball championships. So Charlie Blackmon, you mean something to me, bro. Enjoy your retirement.
Dikembe Mutombo, RIP, bro.
What's scary, man, is what I said. They come in threes. Sports world, be prepared. Man, somebody else is going. I don't know. That's one of the weirdest things anomalies I've ever seen in my life. Daniel, my parents have told me that since I was a kid. It was something that always happens, and it always has happened.
I mean, I don't subscribe to that, but
dude, it happened. I'm telling you right now. It whatever area in which it comes, it happens to be sports, but whether it's musicians, actors, whatever, man, like it's always threes. It's a real thing. You ain't paying attention, bro.
I'm paying plenty of attention. I just am not paying that nonsense of attention. Because
let me tell you something. I'm ending on this note. I just watched this.
Seems like you're wanting someone else to die. Like that's like
I think I just saw it. Let me see if I can see the player's jersey. Slow back. I got you a number 21 from the Seahawks. Your soul has been taken by David Montgomery with the most vicious hit stick I've ever seen.
I mean, there's plenty of those soul stealing.
Hey, I'll tell you this, kind of sticking that theme. I texted you. Journey Robinson might have been on the losing end for LSU. That girl, boy, two different. It's the only time I've seen this in the 3 volleyball games I've been to. So it's not something that's common. Last time I saw it actually was 3 years ago when I went and saw Kentucky against Ole Miss, and Ajani did it to somebody. These girls are good. They're quick hands and they block anything that comes in too hard. Bro, she managed to get 2 different girls right in the chest because she smoked it so hard that the girls couldn't even get their hands up to defend it. And the fact that I make that joke, I felt like she snatched souls in those moments. So she made sure she at least let the Texas girls know, which is probably why they're going to start making some phone calls and be like, "You tired of losing yet? You want to come on over to Texas?"
I mean, I would just move out of the way. Like I'd just be like, I'm good.
It's coming too hot, man. I'm telling you.
Turn out the way. I'm throw an elbow or something. I ain't taking it to the face. Not a chance. All right, let's get out of here. Another great interview. I want to thank Hunter Hines for joining us. If you like hearing Hunter's story or you just like hearing us average Joes talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook, retweet us on X, listen and subscribe wherever you stream your podcast. As always, comments, ratings, feedback, thumbs up, hearts, hugs, loves. We'll take it all. Jim, who do we got coming up?
Man, another. I feel like it's a repeat, Daniel, but another Tennessee baseball transfer. Tomorrow, heads up, I got Brandon Arbison, but man, I'm really excited about when we're back together. On Wednesday, we got Trayson Hughes, superstar right fielder last year for Ole Miss. Remember the guy I told you was standing on the wall in right field and through the frozen rope, no hop to third base?
Yes, sir.
That is him, but he is going to be our first ever because he hit the transfer portal and he's loving it there. He's already told me, but our first ever Virginia Tech Hokie. So we scheduled him to not only get his story, man, but find out what's going on. And they recently just came in D1s over the last 5 years. They came in around was like 54, 53, top program in America. So obviously went to a really solid baseball program. Want to kind of get a culture change, but I just know this: the kid can rake, and the kid has an arm like you wouldn't believe.
Well, looking forward to that. Another big week, bro. All right, that's it. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We are out.